Hello there and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We're back to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans again, and we are talking about the two recently added matches to the Rebellion pay-per-view. Alrighty. So, first off, we've got the X Division title match between Jake Something and Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali had a Rebellion referendum contest that he set up this week. We already discussed it a bit on the recent review episode. You can check that out as well if you wish to. And in that six-man match, Jake Something won and is now going to be going ahead and facing Mustafa Ali at Rebellion. I've already said that I don't feel like Jake Something is going to win, just in my opinion. I think it doesn't make much story sense, honestly. Like, he's like not got that much going on with Ali. Yes, I know they can form some stuff between them between now and then, but I just don't think he's like got a good he probably won't have a good story to work with, so I'm not really that interested in it anyway, even if there is something there. I don't know. There's not much there, I don't think. That's me personally. I think Kevin Knight has a better story. He was injured by Ali. You know, he's trying to get back at Ali for injuring him and, like doing all this stuff and causing him headaches and whatnot. I think that's just a better story. Perhaps it's not quite his time quite yet. In a few more months, it might be. So we just have to wait and see for that. But we will continue with where we're going, and this is fine. Like, again, you have to feature these guys. You have to feature who you've got, and you've got to put them out there. Like, again, Mustafa Ali's one of the bigger names that was released from WWE a few months back, whatever it was, 6 months or whatever it was, maybe a year. I don't remember now, but whatever. Still, he's going in there against one of the guys that, TNA, they're trying to build this guy up and trying to make him one of their top guys. Like, so, having him get an X Division title shot, even if he's going to lose, it can't do anything but help him, really, because, again, people will see it and, see that this guy can go and, and that, hey, he got screwed out of that title and he deserves the title and that sort of thing. And honestly, I almost feel like I want to see him and Hammerstone. A lot of people want to see that. I want to see him and Moose. So, there's some big meaty men matches that I want to see him in that world title picture. There's certainly some other matches that you could have in that world title picture. I think like him having matches with Kazarian, going back to that would be still interesting, and I still feel like that kind of shouldn't have ended really where it did, but that's the way it was, I guess. I don't really know, but still, like, I've given my thoughts on this a fair bit. So it is what it is. I like it. I like Jake Something a fair bit, but I do think that he deserves to be in that heavyweight or that world title position rather than in this X Division title picture. If he's just sort of floating through and, sort of going on to that at some point, that's fine. But yeah, like, for me to enjoy someone in the X Division, they've got to have that X Division style. Jake really doesn't have that very much. Or he's got to adapt his style to fit in that division. So we'll wait and see more where this goes, because I'm pretty sure it's not going to Jake Something, but whatever. EY versus Kazarian. Now, this is a very tough decision, and this is Full Metal Mayhem. So it's one of the premier matches. I know people who will say, well, that's just tables, ladders, and chairs or whatever. It's a WWE rip-off thing. Well, yes, but no. because they can bring in a whole lot more other weapons as well. They can bring in crowbars and chains and all kinds of things. If it's metal, it's legal, effectively. So steel cans, whatever, baking trays, all that sort of paraphernalia and whatnot, and even more stuff that I probably haven't really thought of. But still, like, people who say, oh, it's just TLC, but a ripoff. No, yes, to a degree, but to another degree, you know, there's more to it than that, you know. So, but obviously having too many things is a bit much, but still, obviously, you know, like, this is going to be a, you know, absolute war between these two. Like, again, just from where the world title picture is right now, I feel like EY's gonna win. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's tough because it's like, well, you wouldn't have this match end in some sort of non-way or whatever so that both of them can get to a match with Moose in like a triple threat or a fatal four-way or a five-way or a six-way or whatever. You're not going to do that realistically, I don't think. I don't see that here. Like, one of them has to win, like, in my opinion, and in my opinion, like, it makes the most sense for EY to win because that's the picture that they're both kind of in. But it's tough to say Kazarian shouldn't win at least one of these matches or something. And like the no rules sort of stipulation sometimes does lead it to being like, well, anyone can interfere, so, you know, someone can distract EY and you know, help Kaz win, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's difficult for me to like actually figure out who's going to win this realistically, but like I said, it's tough to think that EY wouldn't win in that regard because, again, he'd be going on to face Moose. But then again, would you want to see Moose and EY too? I guess, yes. But then I'd want to see some stipulation added onto that because, again, it's like, well, I don't want to see anyone else getting involved. To a degree, almost you feel like these guys should have some sort of more added stipulation to their match to be like, oh, you can't interfere in my business and I won't interfere in yours or whatever, type thing. But that wouldn't really work because it just, how could you enforce it, like, type thing. So yeah, I don't know, besides like steel cages or whatever, that sort of thing. But yeah, like, it's tough. It's tough. This one. And this one could in some ways go Kazarian's way, but like, what would you do after that? Like, with Kaz, like, because you couldn't put him in the title picture, like, really, because like he's a heel facing another heel, so I don't think that really makes any sense. It's really the wrong time for him to really be like doing any of that. But then again, you could put him into a feud with Josh Alexander again, like, who's going to be the number one contender, that kind of thing. Like, we've got the whole idea of like Hammerstone and Josh probably coming to a head at some point, probably at Rebellion. So again, both of them will be looking for something to do. They have history. Now Kaz has kind of got this new character. You could kind of see that kind of working and that being kind of a good roadblock for Josh Alexander. So in that regard, I could see that could be all right. There's a few other guys that you could kind of start to think like, well, instead of Moose or his underlings effectively losing matches, you could have Kaz, you know, losing some of these matches, winning some matches too, but like losing some matches as well. But he's like the second boss to like the top boss being Moose. So if you get past Kazarian, you kind of are on the track to being, you know, the top one of the top guys. So I could kind of see that could kind of be like interesting and could kind of work. Um, to me though, in that division, you start looking at who could really get up there and start working that area, and you again looking at like Khan versus PCO again, like maybe Monsters Ball or something like that, probably. Uh, I'm thinking that you start looking at where these are all going, and is PCO going to win that? I don't feel like he should. Same sort of thing. Um, but it's tough to say that he shouldn't, because then where have you got your more of your baby faces? But maybe Khan should be feeling more like a baby face. Like, I don't know. It's it's again tough to sort of like relegate it and say that now he's a good guy or whatever. Um, Same with like Dina. Dina recently having that like babyface ish turn, and I don't know where that's kind of leading, but obviously it's leading somewhere. Um, I don't know. It's tough to say because again, like, is he going to be a tag team guy? Like, I don't see that being all that interesting. Like, if he's a single star, then I think that would be more interesting. But again, like, a lot of these guys have been wrestling for a long, long, long time. And, like, again, you've got to think about, okay, this isn't my last year. Maybe. But this is one of my last years. Like either I want to do something big to sort of cap off my career, or I want to go out in a big way to sort of cap off my career and help put other people over. So that's your job. Like, your job as a veteran, as somebody who's been around and is, arguably one of the more top guys, even though Dina isn't, like, but he's just been around for a long time. People know who you are. People respect some part of, your journey and whatnot, that sort of thing. People understand where you've been and where you've come from and all your accomplishments, no matter how small or whatever they have been. Like, again, people recognize you as that veteran or as that, guy in the locker room, So again, thinking again, well, I've got somewhat of a name for myself, but, it's time to start, like, going, okay, when am I hanging up the boots? And how am I hanging up the boots? Not just when, how, why, not just because, I'm not saying they have to hang up the boots in the next year. I'm just saying, like, you've got to look at it like that. You've got to look at it going, cool, in the next year or two or 3 or 4 or 5, maybe, or whatever it is, I've got to start looking at hanging these boots up. So I've got to start putting in that work to be able to hang up these boots and, be happy with my career and, be happy with where I was and be happy with my, you know, haul at the end and be able to retire comfortably, like, with the money that I've got. So, yeah, that's where they've got to be at, both EY and Kaz and, Dina and anyone else that's, like, getting into that 40 plus, age range, or has been doing this for over 20 years or whatever it's been. Like, because you probably started when you're like 18, 20 or something like that. So you're getting into your 40s. So again, like, the 40s are now like, like, pretty good for wrestlers, but that still is like almost the end of most wrestlers' careers now. You're ending just before your 50s. Like, like, it's the rare few that can sort of wrestle beyond that. And yeah, so yeah, it's really tough for these guys. Like, look at Ric Flair. Like, he had like one of the longest careers. he should have hung up the boots. I think like TNA did misuse him a few times. I liked seeing him in a few matches here and there when he came to TNA, but like he was a bit overused in some regards, which, you know, it is what it is. And I think he wanted to be out there and he wanted to do it and whatnot. He couldn't give it up really, so it is what it is. But again, like that's what you don't want. You do want a nice long and successful career and whatnot, but you don't want to, you know, go out there and embarrass yourself and that sort of thing, or, you know, feel like, you know, you can't really do it, and, you know, what's the point in it, and where, you know, like, what's the real payoff? How much, you know, abuse can the body really take? And it's you know, shocking to see like Hulk Hogan with his back, you know, stapled and whatnot from all the surgeries that he had over his career and whatnot. And all he was doing was dropping the leg, but it was dropping that leg every night. You know, Kaz is dropping that leg after a slingshot, you know, pretty much every night. So saving your body to make sure that, you know, you're not in pain when you're, you know, at the end of your career, or you don't need surgery or whatever else it is. So it's one of those things that you've really got to consider, especially the older you get. It's much easier to kind of get those bumps and bruises and whatnot the older you are and the heavier you are and whatever else. So, yeah. But still, I can't really pick who's going to win. And that's good sometimes. Like, it's good when matches go, oh, shit, I don't know who's going to win, because it's like, you know, it's almost 50-50. But, yeah, I think we have to wait and see what's kind of going on at the show. So that's a reason to tune in. It's always a reason to tune in anyway, because they always put on great wrestling, you know, like, so I don't think people remember that enough and think, oh man, this is going to be a great show of some great wrestling. Yes, I might be able to predict a few of the matches. I might not be able to predict a few of the matches, or I might predict them wrong. Who knows? But again, like, if you're going to say, well, you know, that's it. Oh, well, cool, I've predicted the whole card. Well, still, there are going to be some really good matches, and you don't want to just miss out on watching these good matches just because you reckon you can figure out the way that they're going to turn out or whatever. You might be wrong again. So never bet on anything, especially professional wrestling. You never really know where it's kind of going. I could be totally wrong. Like, but I hope I'm not too wrong most of the time and can kind of see through things and kind of go, well, what's the logic behind this? You know, like if you look at it from this logical perspective and that sort of thing. But I do try my best, and I hope you guys do enjoy that. And I do hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, you can let me know your thoughts down there in the comments below. And I hope you will join me again for another one.